Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. It's Ruth Ann from Abundant Blooms Flower Farm, and today I'm going to talk about one really helpful tip that's going to help you in so many aspects of your flower farm. And it changed my flower farm. It made me more profitable, and it allowed me to make business-based decisions driven by information, not by whims or maybe like you feel like this is what happened, or this helps you make data-based decisions, not decisions based on just what you think, which might be incorrect. So we're going to jump right into it, but if you don't know me, I'm in zone 6A, West Michigan, and I have about an acre in production, but there's a good percentage of that, about half of that is very young woodies and perennials, and I sell almost exclusively to florists, and that is the focus of this channel, to talk about selling flowers on a flower farm and flower farming with that idea in mind about selling to florists. I invite you to download my free tips, Selling Flowers to Florists. It's really helpful. I've gotten some really great feedback on it, and you're not going to want to miss it. So download that, and you will be signed up for my email list, and you won't miss a thing. Okay, now on to today's topic. I actually think this topic applies to every flower farmer everywhere, no matter how you sell or what you're growing. So let's jump right into it. What it is a harvest sheet, and I have an example here. So basically, what you need to do is you track your harvest, and I will explain how to do that. So this is what I did. I started doing this, full disclosure, this was a tip given to me by, I gleaned it from an AFCFG conference recording. I didn't go to the conference, but I listened to the recording on the website after the fact. And I was like, okay, I can take this and I can do this one thing to help my flower farm next season. I was listening to it in the winter. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was the St. Louis conference, but I don't even remember exactly. So basically what they said to do is to make a harvest sheet. So here's the best thing. This doesn't cost any money. You need a sheet, like this is how I made it. Literally a sheet of paper and a ruler and a pen. It just doesn't cost any money to make. I'm pretty sure everybody has this in their house. I also put it on a clipboard. So, okay, maybe if you don't have one of these, you buy one for $2. So all I do is, so I created this and then I made photocopies of it, except sometimes I don't, and sometimes they look like this. And I just made one on the fly. So you don't even need a ruler. But what I do is I have since made copies of this, so it's helpful. But this one looks a lot nicer. So this is just the flower name, and then you can see I have a larger column there, and then small columns here. And up here I have the weeks. So if you don't know that greenhouses and farm production usually goes by the weeks of the year, so they don't go by the date, they go by the weeks of the year. So there's 52 weeks in the year. So they number the weeks. So the first full week of January is week 1, and then the next week is week 2, and so on until the end of the year. And so that just kind of gives you a little bit more consistency and helps you, like, when did I seed my zinnias for the first time? Oh, it was week 18, not necessarily a specific date. And so, like, I have a calendar that has the weeks of the year on it. So it shows that on the calendar. That's actually on the calendar. It's a calendar that Walter's Gardens sent me. So I find that really helpful. So that's what I use. You can look it up online. You can figure it out. But so you use the weeks of the year. And then I do also put the date, like the first day of the week date, because that just helps my brain, like, oh wait, what week are we on? So you can see here, this is week 30, July 23. And so I don't do it per day, just do it by the week. And then what I do is, you can see here, there's tally marks. So each tally represents a bunch. So 10 flowers. So I don't even do every single specific flower. I just do the flowers by the bunch. And then I bunch typically in the field. So I know how many bunches I have. Maybe you don't bunch, but you could still figure out, I mean, you could even estimate how many flowers are in a bucket and how many buckets, or, you know, however you want to count them. But that's how I do it. And then you can differentiate by like specific plants or like colors, or you could just do them all together. You can see here, this is like pretty scrappy. And it's ripped. And so basically these are from 2023. So why is this helpful? So one more tip, I keep this in my cooler. I would keep it where you bring your flowers, wherever that is. The other thing, I just take a clear page protector. I don't put it in the page protector. I just put it on my clipboard with the page protector over it, just because you're dealing with a lot of, you know, water and different things. So this has just really helped me. I had one of these in my house, so I put the page protector over, and then I can just flip. Second tip, get a string and attach your pen to your clipboard, because otherwise you're gonna be ready to write your harvest and you're not gonna have a pen. Or like I tried to put my pen in here, yeah, it always fell, and I'm like, how do I lose this? It's in my cooler. Where does this even go? So just, you know, solve the problem, attach your pen with a string. Again, like none of this costs money. So, but this really changed my flower farm, and I really think it made me a better flower farmer. So why did it help me? What made it so great? So there's actually multiple aspects of this about why it's so great. So it helps you predict your flowers. So you can say, okay, like this is only part of the season, by the way. You're going to need more than one sheet if you have a flower that's going all through the season. It's just not enough space. So this is July, but I have another one for spring. You can say, okay, look, I had zinnias all here, and then, oh, I had a week without any zinnias. So why was that? Was that because my successions were too far apart? Did I just not have enough zinnias? You know, why do I have a gap there? Then the other thing, it's really helpful. You can see, this is loosestrife. I mean, you can't see it, but there's loosestrife on here. And I can look at this and say, okay, I had loosestrife this week and this week and this week. Loosestrife is a perennial, so I can't succession plant it. And then I can see, oh, here I had, you know, 5 bunches, and then this week I had 2, and then looks like I had 1 bunch and 1 bunch and then none. So I can see, okay, my loosestrife produces these weeks, and then it really trails off, and then it's done. So it helps you with perennials know when do they start and when do they stop. And I actually find for predicting availability to florists, that's one of a very challenging thing to do. And I really just think it takes experience, but it doesn't just take experience, it takes experience and records. Like you have to know, you have to have the experience, and you have to know when things started, but not just when things started. I actually found one of the most difficult things was predicting when they were going to stop blooming. So, you know, you can't be like, well, this week my cosmos are in really great bloom and I don't have another succession ready, or when is the next succession going to be ready? So how many weeks do I get off of a succession of cosmos? Telling you really clear data of when you need the next succession, because even though cosmos rebloom, if you're cutting everything, they're going to have a lull before they rebloom. Or is it even worth it to wait for the rebloom? Should you just cut it and start new? That's really helpful. Or you can see, you know, on a perennial, like, oh, you know, here my hydrangeas, like I had hydrangeas, well, I had a lot, and then not much. And so you can really tell, oh, my 9 bark started here, you know. So it helps with that. And then it also helps you crop plan, because you can say, okay, I planted my cosmos, and then you can see, oh, this week I had my first amount of them. So I know that's about how long it takes. Obviously, all of this stuff does depend on the weather to an extent, but it really, really does help you have data for making decisions in the future. The other thing it can tell you is if you're tracking, so this is maybe slightly more advanced, but if you're just doing it for the first time, stems, maybe you don't even want to mess with this, but you can track this particular bed of zinnias, and then you can know how many stems you got off of this row, which then you can calculate your square footage of how big your row is, and how many plants you get per square foot of zinnias. And so it tracks your yield, so you can track your yield all from really just tracking your harvest. That's just slightly getting it a little bit more specific, like the yield off of, or the harvest off of one bed. Now, obviously, there's a few factors to this. You have to be saying, okay, are you harvesting everything off of that bed, or are you leaving half of it unharvested because you don't have the sales outlet for it, so you're not harvesting it? You know, you have to know your field and know your crop and understand the data. But that, you know, if you're saying, no, I harvested and sold every single Cosmo stem that I had, I know I didn't leave usable, sellable stems in the field, and this is everything I've harvested. Or you just have to figure out, okay, what percentage did I not harvest, to have understanding of your yield. It can help show you gaps in your successions. I think talked about that. So you can say, oh, look, I had 2 weeks with no Cosmos. Clearly I need to have my successions closer. Or they were too close together, they're overlapping, and now I have an overabundance and I have too much. So that it can help track all of those things as well. Then what I do is I just don't do a ton with this during the season, and then in the winter I put it in an Excel spreadsheet, so I have a better data tracking system. It is really not super time consuming. I know it's like, oh, as a farmer you have a million and one things to do, and you're like, oh, not another thing. But I just really think if you put this someplace visible, put it on a clipboard, attach your pen to it, make it as easy and simple and available as possible, it really wasn't that hard to implement for me anyway. So if you want to take this one step further, another thing to track would be what's called your shrink, or having a shrink sheet, which basically is what did you compost. So if you harvested 20 bunches of Cosmos and you have them all in your cooler, and then you compost 5 of them, or whatever the case may be. So that can also be a really helpful metric to track, and is really pretty simple. Also, so because knowing what you compost and what you're either not selling or have too much of, that is really helpful for crop planning in the future as well. So I just have found this really, really helpful. I think it helps you no matter where you are in your flower farming journey, and it's really easy to implement. It costs $0. Yes, it does take a few seconds of your time, like literally takes a few moments. I just have my bucket, I pull all my bunches out of the bucket, like, okay, I've got 8 bunches in here, or like I've just know like how many bunches of yarrow fit in a bucket, so I know, oh, that bucket is full, it's got 10 bunches in it, or whatever the case may be. So the more you do it, the quicker and the better you get. But it's really not that hard, it's really not that complicated, and it really, really, really changed. It helped my farm, and it changed how I made decisions on my farm. I wish I had started doing this from year one. Interesting enough, I just had a consulting client, and I was talking to her about this, and she said that her very first year, she meticulously, and she's several years into her farming now, but her very first year, she meticulously tracked every stem that she harvested off of every specific variety of her dahlias. And she said, even to this day, she hasn't continued to track that metric, although she feels like she should. She still references that information for making decisions and understanding even like what varieties to grow and different things like that. So this can just be a really, really helpful metric, very easy to do, very easy to implement. Grab yourself a piece of paper and a ruler and a pen and a clipboard. That's all you need. So that's all I have for today. Make sure you download my tips for selling to florists. I've gotten some really great feedback about that. You'll be signed up for my newsletter, and you'll stay in the know about everything that there is that I'm coming out with, and I've got some exciting stuff coming out, so you're not going to want to miss it. I hope you're all staying warm. It's relatively cold here, and we got 6 inches of snow. So we're having a great time. We love Michigan. And that's all I have until next week, which I think I'm going to be starting my series on woody shrubs. So if you have questions about that, I have gotten a significant amount of questions, and so I'm keeping track of those. But if you have specific questions about woodies, put them in the comments, because that's the series that's coming next. It's going to take multiple videos, I think, walking through how I added woodies and what woodies I added and why I added them to my farm and when. So you're not going to want to miss that. Please subscribe. It really does help my channel. I know I'm just a small channel and I'm growing, and I really, really appreciate those of you that subscribe and hit the bell and share this. If you share this with your friends or share it in larger Facebook groups, flower farming Facebook groups, that really helps me. And honestly, it's just so encouraging. So thank you so much to those that have done that. I really, really, really appreciate that. And I'm really thankful for every one of you. This has been a really fun little journey that I've started on YouTube, and I hope you have a great, warm rest of your day.